Interested in anything related to adoption, children's trauma or behaviours, then this channel might well be useful for you. So if you think it might be, then just please hit the pink subscribe button you will see down in the corner of the screen. And the great thing is, guys, is that many of you are now starting to ask me for subjects that you're interested in. So today we're going to talk about how you're going to discipline children when they're with you and through adoption, and how best to look at this situation with them. For many of us, of course, we've had our own ways of being brought up, the way that we accept discipline, what happened to us as children will all play a part in how we view what we should be doing with our adopted children. But of course, we also know that many of these children will have suffered trauma, had experiences that are unpleasant, and possibly directly been physically abused. So what are the ways that we can look forward into positive parenting which actually has a success? With boys who are now 10 and 11 who are had into foster care when they were 2 and 3, and they've presented many challenges, as have other foster children that I have had to parent, and I might have had to have a different approach to them as I have for my 5 birth children, and I think possibly for the better. I've learned a lot about discipline and what it really means to a child, and yes, I make mistakes, but I'm here to share with you some ways that might work for you. So you might well have heard of PACE, PACE, which is standing for playful, acceptance or accepting, curiosity and empathy. So therapeutic parenting often works, but sometimes I feel it has to go alongside other styles of parenting as well to get the maximum benefit. And most therapists will say to you that actually sometimes you can be therapeutic with your parenting, but sometimes you can't. You have to be more boundary driven. And by boundary driven, I mean you have to be pretty black and white about what your expectations are. So trying to have fun around your parenting and being very playful and imaginative with your approach to what you're doing. So it could possibly be that your child is presenting some difficult behavior and you playfully start to ask them what it is that the problem really is, and by using a sense of humour. Humour is brilliant when it comes to parenting adopted children. You really need to have a sense of humour, and you can have a joke around things, and you might be able to say to your child, well, that's funny because I thought I put down my shoes in this area and it looks like a little fairy's taken them off and put them somewhere else. And that would be playful rather than saying, where have you put my shoes, and being very direct about it. Often when children know that you're closing in on them and you're getting angrier, then they will, the situation just escalates. Acceptance. Again, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that these children need to be accepted. And quite honestly, they will make lots of mistakes and there will be parenting issues, but actually, if they know that you accept them for who they are, then you can deal with the behaviour as a separate issue. So when you say to someone, I love you unconditionally, what that really means is, I love you, and you might actually be presenting huge challenges for me right now, but that's the behaviour and you are you. And so acceptance is always the foundation for the children that have experienced trauma. If they know that you accept them, regardless of how you're going to deal with their behaviour, then the bottom line is that foundation is there. Curiosity. This has been a really powerful one for us with the boys, because sometimes they do try and hide a lot of their feelings and they hide their behaviours. So, for example, what you might do is you might second guess what you think the issue and the problem is. I mentioned in my other video about aggressive behaviour, and I told the story of one night my son extremely aggressive and I had no idea why. So I had to use curiosity to try and pin down what it was. It took a long time, but we finally found out it was the forthcoming holiday or trip to France that was causing him problems. So it's okay to second guess what you think the issue might be that is causing their more challenging behaviour. And finally, empathy, putting yourself into their shoes. Very difficult as an adult sometimes to do that with children, but it's really sort of saying to them, I understand, I think I understand where you're coming from. If I was you, I would feel the same. So always coming from an empathetic point of view. Now, sometimes when therapeutic parenting doesn't really work, so when PACE doesn't really work, is when your child is presenting a particular risk to themselves or other children or other people in the house, and you have to come in quite hard, quite quickly. And this is where I feel that more the boundary driven parenting has to come alongside the therapeutic parenting, because if you try therapeutic parenting all of the time, you're trying to be playful, accepting, curious, empathetic with every decision you make, you won't manage to achieve that. And I think really a combination of therapeutic parenting and boundary driven works really well. And of course it's knowing when to use those things. Now, what we have to bear in mind as well is that we look back to our own childhoods. I mean, so if you are taking on an adoptive child and you've had a very punitive, disciplinarian approach to parenting, then you may feel that it's quite difficult to shift from that and start to therapeutically parent. I mean, the only thing I can say about it is if you start using therapeutic parenting often, it does come more second nature. You will find yourself asking the children questions, being curious. You'll find yourself having a sense of humour and being playful, empathetic. It will start to come more naturally to you. And you will also notice that only boundary driven things will only work almost when you're across roads with the children and you're trying to protect them. So I'm going to go straight into a story now. I'm going to give you an example of what happened where I had to use therapeutic parenting to start with, and particularly the curiosity side of it, but it moved into boundary driven and then it went back to therapeutic again. So what happened was my son decided to take in a dangerous implement into school. We won't go into what it is, but he decided to take something into school. Around about the same time, he also had a go at cutting his hair, which I know a lot of children do, but we're talking severely cutting his hair. And he was also hiding a lot from me. So lots of things were going in his bag, and his brother is generally on board with these things. He normally knows what is going on. So lots of things were happening all at once. Okay, so my first port of call is therapeutic parenting. So trying to use the empathy of do you understand what you're doing? Do you understand the risks of what you took into school? And do you understand? Trying to be curious about why you might do this, etc., etc. Unfortunately though, that wasn't taken on board. That therapeutic parenting didn't really work. So bottom line is it didn't work, and we still continue to have issues with things going into school that shouldn't have been going into school. So then I had to switch to boundary. I've asked you nicely, I've asked you what's going on, and right now it's the boundary is you can't take extra things into school without permission. So boundary driven was then I needed to check his bag every day and make sure that dangerous things weren't going into school or things that the teacher wouldn't accept. So put the boundary in place, check the bags every day, things subside. Now, that's not enough because we still didn't understand why it was happening. He'd changed from being okay to, doing lots of risky behaviours and risky things. So when I had time to take him to one side, it was then, okay, I'm going to use my curiosity. Difficult because then they become quite agitated because they think you might hit on what it is, and obviously they're anxious and fearful. So it was largely to do with friendships and trying to impress friends at school. And so then I can use the empathy and I can say, it must be tough for you that you're struggling with friendships at the moment, and then I can use playful things and start to make him laugh again, and then we've done full circle. So that's how I've used therapeutic parenting, which maybe doesn't work to start with, brought in some boundaries, and then gone back to therapeutic parenting. So there's an example for you guys. So I'm sure that you will need to use therapeutic parenting. I hope that you will have some training on it that will explain it much better than I can, and that you found this video useful. And if you have, of course, then I just encourage you to subscribe and give me a like, and then hopefully you will find other videos on my channel that are useful for you. Goodbye now.